For those of y'all that don't know me, I'm Ernie Lyles. I'm going to talk about the Dardick tonight. This was going to be a two-part presentation. I was going to talk about the gun, and Bob Sears was going to talk about the people, because he knew most of them there, and he was asked to come aboard that company. But he was smart and didn't. But Bob's wife called this morning, and he has laryngitis, and at 80 years old, she says she's not allowed to come out to play tonight.
83, actually.
Is it 83? Okay. Back in the 1950s, the government was testing new feeding devices for small arms. And they found out that a triangular-shaped cartridge took up less space in a magazine than a cylindrical one. I wanted Bob here to do the math on that one for me because it just really didn't make sense. But the military never went any further with it. And it fell by the wayside. In 1956, Dave Dardick started up the Dardick Corporation in Handguns, Connecticut, using the triangular cartridge design. When he first designed the gun as prototypes, the triangular cartridges were made out of aluminum. But when he came out in production, he switched to a new plastic salt called Celanese Fortiflex. It was cheaper than the aluminum cartridges. They said it had a better sealing quality for expansion than the brass cartridge or aluminum cartridge would. The standard cartridge held a 38 lead ball round with a standard powder charge for a 38 special cartridge. He named it the Tround, triangular round, Tround. It was a plastic cartridge. It had a brass primer seat that went in that you put a standard pistol primer in. Your powder had a plastic gas check and a standard lead 38 bullet. They also made them in .22 caliber. It was the same size Tround, but it was drilled out at a recess for the .22 long rifle case head. You just push it in the cartridge, and you could shoot .22s out of it. After you fired the .22, you take a little dowel rod, push the fired .22 long rifle cartridge out of the Tround, stick another one in it, you can load it up again. They also experimented with Trounds that you would put a whole 38 wide cutter cartridge in, a 9mm cartridge, and a 38 Smith & Wesson cartridge. You just take a loaded round, push it in the Tround, and you could use it. Now, what was interesting, this is the mid-50s. His gun took 15 rounds. There wasn't many other firearms in the mid-50s in semi-auto that took 15 rounds. You had Browning high power at 13. Not much other than that. So this was holding more than most of your other semi-auto pistols out there. Now the gun had two cast aluminum frames, the left and the right side. It had an internal box magazine that was not removable, had a quick change barrel, and a steel cylinder. I took that picture the other night. I should have took pictures of all of it because that came out better than some of my others. The cylinder had 3 wedge shapes cut in it that the Trounds went in. It was called an open chambered firearm. And the top strap of the frame, let me go back one. You can't see it in the picture, but there is a metal plate in the top, which ended up being the third side of your chamber. The barrels were quick change. Got an extra barrel here. You notice right here there's two little slots cut in the barrel. In the front of the frame there's a screw. You turn it 180 degrees, and that screw had two cams on it that fit in the barrel slots. You just turn it 180 degrees, your barrel pops out. You could slide in one of the shorter barrels in 38 caliber, or you could slide in the 22 caliber barrel.
Man was ahead of his time.
You know, we're talking about a magazine-fed revolver, shooting triangular cartridges. He was thinking way outside the box there, because there was nothing else like that out there. They also had a carbine conversion unit for the gun. You would take the pistol barrel off, put it up in this stamped sheet metal receiver. It had a wooden stock and a wooden fore-end on it. This just kind of stuck up with the hammer poking through the top. Then the barrel was pushed back into the frame and locked with the screw underneath the barrel, locked it on, and that's what held it all together. And it turned it into a carbine. Took all of under a minute to change it from the handgun to the carbine, because the whole frame and everything went in.
Drove Congress nuts.
Also on the side of the frame, there's a little screw which changed it from rim fire to center fire. Just move the firing pin up and down. Now, in the carbine, the 38 caliber barrels were 30 inches and the 22 caliber barrels were 23.5 inches long. We got all this put together, and there was a lot of problems with the gun. This plastic, the Celanese Fortiflex, worked fine, straight from the factory, in 30 days or so. After that, just sitting there, they would warp a little bit. And if they warped, they had to fit up in that pie shape. They wouldn't go all the way in. So when the cylinder rotated up to the top strap, it's sticking out a little bit, it would lock the cylinder up. It wouldn't go any further. So they started making different size Trounds. Dimensions were just a little bit different. I've got two different standard 38 Trounds up here. I've got a blue one and a green one. There was also white ones. Each one was just a little bit different dimensions. So if the green ones wouldn't function in your gun, try the blue one. And if that was still too tight, go to the white one.
Not cool.
Not cool at all.
Why don't you just go back to the aluminum case?
Had a lot of money invested in that plastic already.
How did it load with an unremovable magazine?
You have a loading gate door right here. You pop this open, and it's the side. This would be right about here, and you just push them down. Also, it was 3 chambers. Now your standard revolver, 5-shot, the hand or the paw moves that cylinder 1/5 of a rotation. A 6-shot revolver only moves the cylinder 1/6 of a rotation. This had to move it a whole third of the way. And having that little arm come straight up to rotate the cylinder 1/3 of a rotation, you lost a whole lot of your mechanical advantage on it, and it made the trigger pull god awful.
That was true in both the pistol and the rifle.
It was the same gun. The only thing different about the rifle is you had a long barrel stuck in it and the stock was on on the gun. Everything else was the same. The whole pistol just went up into the stock. So trigger pull stayed the same, the feeding mechanism, everything was the same.
What caused the empty case to eject?
It basically fell out by gravity. I've got a spare chamber here that showed how it feeds up, and I can turn this with my needle nose and they just fall out the other side, fall out the slot on the side. There is a little teeny piece of stamped sheet metal. Whoops.
You just want the slate, that's
You pull the plate out. There we go.
Hey, we're back.
There you
We gotta
go.
do that.
Right, if you rotate the chamber by cocking a single action.
It's still a rough job doing it. Bob Sears, who's not here tonight, will tell you there was one gun only that worked fairly well, which was their original handmade that they used for all the demos. Production guns were a nightmare. Now, I remember back, it was 1983, Woody Dykes. People know Woody? He's at the Expo Center show. He had a gun shop back in 1983 at University Mall, right there at George Mason College. And I remember going in there and holding the Dardick with the carbine attachment. And I'm going, God, that's a stupid gun. I wish I'd bought it back then because it was probably $200 because no one wanted it. Well, he had problems, so he started contracting people out to help fix them. One of them was Melvin Johnson from Johnson Machine Gun Company. He went over, his recommendation was to go back to aluminum, wouldn't change its shape, wouldn't warp. And the trigger pull was so bad, he recommended bleeding some of the gas off the barrel and making it semi-auto. Now, we could have had a semi-auto magazine-fed revolver that shot triangular cartridges. You know, that, man, I'd have to have one of those too. I found this out because I ended up getting Melvin Johnson's proposal. It's signed by him and inked in the back on his fixes for the Dardick. He also contracted out to the Evaluators Limited down in Tround. I know a lot of y'all people remember Evaluators, Mr. and Mrs. Van Orden. I used to visit them quite often when I was an MP down at Quantico 30-some years ago now. He got Van Orden, General Van Orden in on it because he was also working on a military gun, 50 caliber. Got a 50 caliber Tround right here. Let's see if I can walk over here without cutting the computer off. 50 caliber, they were belt fed. And didn't go very far with the military either.
Did we put the 50 cal cartridge inside that, or we make it
No,
cartridge?
no. Got their proprietary primer, just a cartridge, powders inside, that's your cartridge. It doesn't have a 50 BMG stuck in.
How in the world does that thing hold all that pressure?
Not very much.
It did.
Let me see, I also have a picture of the Van Orden's, let me see. This is March 23 to March 28th. Oh, what was the year of it? 1957 NRA convention at Washington Sheridan. This is Dave Dardick on the end. This is somebody lost because we have no idea who he is. There's General Van Orden and Mrs. Van Orden. And Jack Costello, who was the sales manager for Dardick. We've got the evaluators limited sign up at the convention, and we got the Dardick Carbine right there. Jack and Bob Sears worked together at 4 or 5 different companies. And he said Jack was a salesman, but he just couldn't sell the Dardicks.
How many did they do?
Don't know. You know, Bob took this picture around and I showed him that I had this. And he said no one could figure out who the two on the end here or this gentleman was.
Has Blair seen this picture?
That's who I got the picture from.
Oh, Blair probably knows more about the Van Ordens than anybody left on the planet,
Yeah.
including their son.
I'm surprised that second gentleman from the right, he looks.
Is that Marty Eats? Does that look like Marty?
On the left?
Yeah, second from the left.
Yeah, a little bit, but.
Because I know he knew Van Orden.
Mm-hmm.
Marty in the Marine Corps?
He was in the Marine Corps.
Well, here's all the specs on the handguns and the rifles. Everything came in blue, you know, adjustable sights. The company started selling guns in 1958. They quit in 1962. You know, got a 4-year run. Now, all the information I've been able to find is under 100 guns ever produced. It's under 100. And one article here in Man at Arms, he believes there was only about 50 of them produced. When they went out, all the plans, all the spare parts was bought up by Dardick Arms, the rights to the gun. And they still have an amazing amount of parts for the gun. I sat down one day and started checking all the parts, see if there was enough to make another one, but you know, just had a few crucial things that they didn't have anymore.
Do you think evaluators sold any?
I'm sure they did. Bob told me that he's pretty sure General Van Orden had some stock in the company, so I'm sure they were pushing it. You don't see them really come up on the auction sites or for sale very often. You know, very fortunate to get this when it's the original box it came in. Got some of the sales brochures here. In the 70s, Dave Dardick was still working with his Trounds. And this is a well buster. These were loaded into a drill bit. And you would drill, people drilling wells. You hit rock. It's 3 ceramic projectiles in there. When it wouldn't drill any further, it would fire the 3 projectiles that hit in 3 different little spots, pulverize the rock. I don't know what happened to the casing. I just saw a picture drawing of the drill bit that fired these things. Then you drill a little bit more because you bust the rock up. And it'd get stuck again, you'd fire it again, bust the rock up a little bit more, drill a little more. Also in his military one, he had a 3-round multi-projectile for his military gun. It'd shoot 3 rounds at once. Now, that is about all I've got, because I was counting on Bob talking about the people.
Ernie, how much ammo did they make? And the reason I ask, who made it I'm just wondering, they must have been very optimistic in their ammo.
Well, here's the press release from Celanese Fortiflex on producing the ammo for the gun. Now, there's got to be thousands of rounds out there. You can still buy a full box of empty cases at Newmark Arms. They have tons of it still. Like I said, they've got, the empty cases. Here's the box that they come in.
You ever shot it?
Have I ever shot it? No. I've thought about taking a couple of my Trounds and stoning them down or filing them down so they'll fit all the way in the chamber so they'll rotate. But that's how it works.
Ernie, what did the pistol sell for new?
In the 50s, if I'm not mistaken, it was like $69,
Which made it expensive.
which was fairly expensive.
Do you remember what a Colt Peacemaker or Ruger sold for then by comparison?
Peacemaker in the 60s, or
Started
single
out at
action army?
125,
Yeah.
and 150 for the new Frontier.
And
Ruger Mark I was 3750. Yeah. 3750.
And
where were they made, Ernie?
Hamden, Connecticut. Any other questions about these?
What is it worth today?
You don't see them come up for auction too often out there on the gun sites. I just saw one with the carbine conversion. I looked at it during lunch at work yesterday, and they were asking right around $4,000 for it. Larry?
Actually, that carbine conversion looks an awful lot like a 22 caliber semi-automatic that Unique made. I think it was Unique Model 51 that did basically the same arrangement there with the barrel, the stock.
Yeah, we looked at one of those at the Expo Center a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I heard.
Yes, sir.
Where did he get his experience from? What's his background? And was he considered a nut during that time, or was he taken seriously?
Well,
Yeah.
a lot of people just thought it was too strange out there and didn't even want to talk to him. It was either Colt or Smith & Wesson looked into buying the company from him, though, until they found out that nothing was working. There's too many problems with the gun.
But if you think about it, in that time frame, plastics were coming into their own, and space age materials.
That's what they told Dustin Hoffman when he graduated. Plastics.
Yeah. I mean, the future is plastics, and this man was a forward-thinking, futuristic-thinking, smart person.
Yeah, it was definitely out of the box. I haven't seen anything this strange hardly ever since.
Is he still alive?
I think he has passed away now. I think it happened not too long ago, too. I don't have a date on that.
I have a very good friend who went to the Securities Exchange Commission, 81, 82, and they came across documents for the public offering for the well drilling apparatus.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some commentary letters in there, or notes, something, that basically said, we don't think so.
That it?
The adventure of Ernie, take it out and shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
You did it with the...
Hey, we did it with the gyro jet. We shot the gyro jet.
Ernie, thank you very much. On behalf of the many members of the VGCA, let me present you with our famous VGCA pin set, if I can figure out how to open it there. But there you are, Ernie. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Watch, go look at Jack here and hold the pin set up. Thank you. Very nice presentation. Let's take a 10-minute break.